Welcome to YouTooSpain Live, my friends. This week we have an extra special show for you, all about the proposed 100% tax on foreign buyers, and we will unpack the whole of this radical new housing plan and fact check it for you. Joining me will be our expert residency specialist, Chris from Upsticks, and we'll also answer all of your questions over there on the live chat. And Chris, once again, I believe, has an Upsticks goodie bag to give away to whoever asks the best question or leaves the best comment. So get writing now on the chat. If you're watching the video back afterwards, by the way, do it in the comments and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Unfortunately, you can't take part in the competition, but anyway, do feel that you are part of this too, because that's what this channel is all about. And you're very welcome to YouTooSpain. Let's have the theme tune and, of course, let's dance. Yes, that's very groovy. And speaking of groovy, let's meet my favourite expert guest. He's my best mate and yours. It's Chris from Upsticks. Hola, matey.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Pretty good. Cold, but still very sunny. No, not a cloud in the sky. How's it down there?
Yeah, no, same here. Cold. I've just taken my dressing gown off, so I don't look silly. But it's a bit chilly. It's a bit chilly. You'll have to excuse us a bit of my son's birthday, so there's quite a lot of movement today happening around the house. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, everybody say happy birthday, Raoul.
Yeah, he's 11 today. And we've got a big party coming and the bouncy castle going up. So there's a lot of people organising.
Brilliant. I'm very jealous. Bouncy castle. I want one of them. So let's say hello to everybody on the live chat. Jason's Web, good morning to you. Hola, Skatz and Chris from -2 degrees in France, say Anton Kez. Yeah, keep rubbing your hands together. Let's see if we can all get warm together. Robbo says, buenos dias todos. And Roger Burke is there. Hi to you both from a very cold Torquay after 7 weeks in warm Cabo Roig. I can never pronounce that one right. And let's go. Shall we get straight on with the feature? Oh, Paul Cook's here as well. Welcome to everybody who's just joining us on the live chat there. You're all extremely welcome. So the main feature today is basically the whole show, because this is something that everybody's talking about. It's big and important. It's been all over the news. So let's take the whole show doing it. And we need to get finished by 11 o'clock anyway, so you can get on that bouncy castle.
I might give it a miss this year with the arm, but I've definitely got some hot dogs to start making.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, we won't keep you then. So I think the first thing that we need to say to everybody is that what we normally do, both I and Chris, is when there are these kind of government announcements like this, we normally wait until it's more advanced in the process of implementing them. Why do we do that, Chris?
Well, we normally do this because there's an awful lot of hype, unnecessary hype and worry caused by things like draft laws. And like, as you've seen in this announcement, as you're going to go through, we're going to go through a lot of what he was said, and everybody's focused on that one point, which is going to make a headline. So we always like to wait until the laws are actually published so we can break them down and show you them on screen. But I think on this occasion, we think it's worth having a chat and fun.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, we're going to have fun. We're even going to give our opinions. I'm used to giving my opinions on this channel anyway, but normally Chris stays away from them.
Maybe I'll be thrown off the channel now if I've got to ask opinion.
No, absolutely not. No, we like opinions, and it's not the sort of thing you're allowed to do on Upsticks because you're talking about visas and residency. You don't want to get opinionated about things. You just want to help your customers. So. Yeah. There we go. Robbo says, I personally think a lot of this is the British press stirring it up. They never do that, do they? They don't want UK residents taking their money out of the country. They've done it before with other issues. True. And Tom, Josie and Anna say good morning as well. There we go. I suspect that a lot of you are watching because of this so-called expat tax. That's certainly what a few of the papers are calling it. We will get to that, I promise you, but it's important again that we look at the whole housing plan to put it into context and get a balanced view unlike most of the press, as Robbo's pointed out, who focused on just that one little part of it and caused the panic.
Yeah.
So what's the general idea of the housing plan then, Chris?
Well, basically, it's very similar to lots of areas around the world. The only problem is Spain's housing market is absolutely crazy, and the idea of this is, and as you quite rightly mentioned when we were chatting before, Sanchez has already admitted that some of his ideas didn't work. He wants to regulate the housing market to allow people who are get into the housing market who are young, on the minimum wage, etc. And because of the disparity in the housing market here, then he's trying to regulate it in other ways. One that we've already seen, what he announced, was the golden visa. He blamed blamed problems on certain aspects of the housing market on the golden visa. We'll offer an opinion on that. I think that was rubbish, but he got rid of it, didn't he? So
yeah, certainly. It's only going to affect a tiny proportion of the housing
I
market. And let's face it, it's going to be houses up in the hills that are worth a lot of money, and young people and people on low wages aren't going to be able to afford those places anyway.
No, I mean, he referred to people coming over and buying multiple properties to qualify for the visa and then leaving those properties empty. If that's the case in Madrid, that may be the case. Something, I don't live in Madrid, so I don't see it, but certainly, I think what he needs to do, really, and if I was advising him, would be maybe leave Madrid and come and have a look at areas like the Costa del Sol, which has its own, for example, has its own economy, has its, the destination, the properties are built with a certain purpose, which are for first-time buyers in Spain. But we're gonna go through that, aren't we, today? But yeah, certainly here on the Costa del Sol, the people who got golden visas weren't people who were buying blocks of flats and leaving them empty for investment purposes, for example.
No, and somebody I spoke to the other day, I shouldn't be just taking advice and comments from just one person in a pub who I spoke to, saying that there are, I think, 250 property owners in Mallorca who own about at least 50 properties each, some of them up to 100 properties each, which is somewhere between 12,500 and 25,000 properties. And really shouldn't legislation be aimed at them instead of the tourists, because they're just letting them off really expensive to tourists. So, but I think some of the housing plan does aim at those people in terms of putting up the taxes and getting them to pay tax the same as hotels pay tax, as if they're running it like a business. So we'll come to that one in a minute, I think.
Yeah.
So it's about regulation. It's about more financial support for people seeking housing and affordable housing. There you go.
Which is fair enough. It's like it doesn't, but there is a problem. It is a problem. That's something we do have to highlight. So it is actually a problem in Spain for people trying to get into a mortgage. And get into. Say hello, Laura from Upsticks Drive.
Hello.
Hi, Laura.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well. We're deep into political talk today.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to get serious today.
Oh, no. I'll leave you to it then.
It's going to get serious. I'll just get my pen out and write notes.
I've got party planning to do. Well, 12 o'clock, I've got 10 kids arriving.
Oh, yeah, I don't envy you that.
Raoul's 11th birthday.
We said that. We had a happy birthday.
We said happy
birthday. Yeah. So, and the bouncing castle's up, and I'm just nipping out to get a few little bits that I've missed.
Excellent. When you get down to the organisation, I'll see you later. I'll see you at your party.
Oh yeah, next week.
Yeah. So many parties. Hi, Raoul. That's Raoul, everyone.
Oh, wait, you can see.
Hello.
There we go.
What's your opinion, Raoul, on the housing market in Spain?
What do you mean?
Okay, right, let's crack on.
Perfect. I bet that's what a lot of people are saying. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah. Okay, so let's go through the key measures. And as I say, we'll get to this 100%, but we'll start off with another 100%. And this is one that looks like it will benefit landlords. It's a tax exemption on rental income. So
yeah, Yeah, it looks like so. The first one looks like this. So just to explain what he said IRPF is basically what we call our income tax. Yeah, so you have to, if you're earning income from a property rental, you have to declare that in your annual declaration. It's already quite favourably taxed, believe it or not. It gets a lower tax rate than, and I know because we did this for a while myself. So I had a property which I rented out, and Antonio explained it to me. He said, well, you might as well declare it because it classes as income. Say, for example, you want to go for a mortgage further down the line. Well, that's great to show that, but it's taxed less than the normal standard rate. But he's talking about people who are going to be investing in distressed areas. So I've got my notes here today, so we're all good. This is a new for me notes. Basically, people in distressed areas who are going to be renting out these properties, giving them a tax break if they reform the properties and actually get them rented out. So
it looks like it says in these notes that even if they're not located in a designated distressed residential area.
Are they the notes I sent you?
Yeah.
I don't
know if that's a translation.
Located. Yes, not sorry. Previously taxable value up to 90%. Yeah. So sorry, not designated. So is that all?
Means
I read that
means all rentals. Yeah, which my landlord's going to be happy about. We're not a stressed area here.
Oh, there's a lot of stressed areas. Funny enough, I was talking to someone yesterday about this in Loja. You know, the town where you stayed.
Yeah.
And, because the centre of town is just dead. It needs investment. You know, everybody's moved out. Nobody wants to live in one of the townhouses. Everybody wants to live. And it's a beautiful centre. And you go to the centre of a lot of these inland towns and there's no investment. The government doesn't invest in it. And the place is rotting from the inside out because on the outside of the town, there's beautiful apartments with parking spaces, solar energy and whatever, you know. So.
Yeah, very, very true. And it looks like that, well, it said previously tax breaks were available up to 90% if the property was in a stressed area. So it looks like, there was. Yeah, but these measures have not been widely implemented by regional governments. Of course, the government in Andalusia is run by the PP, which is the complete opposite of the present overall government in Spain. So, and
I can tell you how hard those. So he's obviously expanding that to non-stressed areas, but for people who are applying for those grants for stressed areas, it was impossible. I know that from personal experience because I had a property in a stressed area and we tried to apply years ago when they brought it in, and it was impossible to get it because the money is then divided by the regional government, as you say, they're PP. So.
Let's just have a look in the comments very quickly. Jason says maybe property investors, I think he means, should be limited to 5 properties. Yeah, good luck with bringing that in. Robert says if it does come in, and I think it's a big if, yeah, we'll come to that in a bit as well. He says I can see timeshare making a comeback. You never know. Andy Aylmer says good morning all, great joining you this morning, first time but hopefully not the last time. You're very welcome, Andy. And Jason says I wanted to buy a property to use myself as a holiday home and then move in on the NLV when I retire, and I'm priced out in areas I want to be due to Airbnb investors. Yeah, that is a big problem, and that's one of the sectors that Sanchez has been aiming at, I think. Cubley Adventures, nice title, says, morning Skatz and Chris, we're lucky enough to have just got the keys to our new house in Compita. Oh, welcome to the local town, just down there. Do you think there will be a rush to buy property now and have an effect on property value? That's from Matt and Annette. It's possible.
Yeah, it is possible that people will. I mean, it's like, hey, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute, aren't we? But if people panic, which they do quite a bit, then they might think, you know what, bring their plans forward and just get the property now before this comes into play. Because no doubt something will happen. We don't know when and how much, but something will happen.
Yeah. I think, well, there's a desperate need for it. So whoever's in government, whether it's Sanchez or whether he's outvoted next time, somebody's got to do something. Shirley Rose says, hello, my first ever live, looking to buy in Compita this year. Is there somebody else for Compita? It's a very popular place. Is it just because of me? No, it's obviously not. And Robbo says, Jason, the prices in Punta Prima have really gone up. I've been looking for a mate and it's very difficult to find anything now under 100,000. Well, absolutely, you won't find much in Computer for under 100,000. Certainly not more than 2 bedrooms anyway, in a townhouse. But if you're looking slightly outside in the Campo, you're paying at least 250,000 for a villa. So yeah, and that would be cheap. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the housing plan, the public rental guarantee system.
Yes, as a public guarantee. So basically, this is to help people under 35 years old and also help landlords to guarantee that they get payment. Again, I'm not too sure how his government are going to ensure that landlords receive rental payments. Simultaneously providing, he said, provide tenants for affordable housing options. So does this mean, reading between the lines, they may pay the difference? You know, like if someone can only pay X, they'll pay Y. Or I'm not too sure how that would work. I would say, in experience, that again it will go something down to the tax return. So I don't think that the government's going to go, there's some rent money.
No,
definitely not. But they may say, okay, then, well, we're going to only charge you tax on X amount if you're renting for someone under 35 years old or something like that. Evidently, all rentals have to be registered with the local government as well. You'd have to go through all that process and lodge a deposit there, I imagine, as well. So how they'd implement that, I'm not too sure, but I definitely don't think they'll be giving out money.
No, this is one of the things that happens during, announcements like this. There's a load of words spoken and a load of promises, but they never outline exactly how they're going to do it. So there's not much we can say about that one, apart from wait and see what goes through, and then we'll comment on it later, I suppose.
They when they implement something like this, they always just seem to do it through the annual tax return and give you a relief rather than anything else.
Okay.
So rather than actually giving you money back, it's virtually impossible to get any money out of the government. Grants for businesses, grants for houses. We know that it's just, I don't know. If anybody has got one, please let us know, because like they did that with the Dana, with the storms. So because we were in an affected area, even though I wasn't affected at all by the storms, Balarin de la Torre was on the list, and our second annual tax payment, which was due to come out in November, got taken out and put straight back into the account.
Yeah.
To help people get over that, but then they're going to take it again in February. So it's not, if I had been affected, I can't really see how in the space of 2 months, if my house had been washed away, then give me that money back and then taking it back off of me in February would have helped, really, to be honest. But if you'd have said taken the tax that I owe you and then gone back to me and said, give me proof you've been affected, and then give me it back, the proof, then that would help, But lending you your own money isn't going to help.
No, and then going, we need that money now. We need it back.
And then taking it back in February because they need it for their accounts.
Yes. So the next part of the housing plan actually sounds like a good idea, because people have been saying, especially people who've just read the newspapers and gone, 100% tax. That's all they're talking about. But, why don't they just open up the vacant houses, the houses that are just sitting idle? Why don't they do something about that? So this next one is called the Rehabilitation Programme for Vacant Housing. So,
yeah, and I think with that, what they need to do is they need to regulate the market. Well, this is all going back to the crisis and the bad bank, right? The bank of money, where all these houses were then given a value and then put into this bank so that the bad bank, so that the banks didn't crash, basically, because they lent far too much money on houses. To give you an example of that, and this is how they're ending up empty, these houses now. And to give you an example of that is when I bought a property in 2006, which we bought very cheaply for 50,000 euros, and they wanted to lend us 130,000 euros, right, on that property. That property today, after the crash, has only just really reached the same value as what we bought it for, right? In fact, I don't own it anymore. But that's where that's how bad the property market is, and that's how much they overlent and they overspent, and that was with, back then, 2 months' wage slips. So that's why the thing crashed. But the problem is all these houses then got repossessed, went into the banks, and the banks are supposed to facilitate through different web pages, so Solvia and stuff like that, the purchase of these properties for people. But when I go on there, and I've been recently looking personally, they're not cheaper than normal estate agents. You phone people up and you can't get hold of anybody. Yeah, there's no. So what's happening with these properties? So I think it's a great idea, especially in the inland towns. The properties are falling down. You know, maybe help people rehabilitate the properties. But I think they also need to speak to the bank and give people easier access to these cheaper properties, which are being held effectively in this bad bank.
Yes.
Still,
it just says that they're homeowners who renovate their properties to rent at an affordable rate for at least 5 years will receive financial assistance.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll see. I mean, again, if people have got empty houses, we'll see how if they have to then do up their houses and then claim that back off their tax returns. Again, I don't think the government's going to give them the money.
So that's another wait and see on that one, I think. Morning to Mike Ripper and Yogi. Hello, Yogi, and thanks very much for your donation. That's very, very kind of you. And to everyone, if you're getting something worthwhile from the show, as well as smashing that like button into smithereens, have a little donate. You can either do it through membership, which is down underneath the screen somewhere, or you can scan the QR code in the top left-hand corner there and put it into the GoFundMe, which is all for this channel and for Still Alive, to keep us going and helping you. And while you're there, make a note of Chris's website, upsticks.es, where you can find articles about everything to do with visas and residency. And I think there's an article all about what we're talking about today. Have you got that in there?
Yeah, we've got that on there. We've got lots of different articles as well, about articles as well. So it's quite a bit on it.
Brilliant. And Jason says, what about all the fully built or partially built abandoned urbanisation places? Can't they invest and finish them? Well, that is a big thing. And I've seen on Sean, Expat in Matheron, I've seen him doing flying around his camera and looking at places like that, which are just ghost towns. Something could be done with those.
Absolutely. So you're saying, like, it's okay. Again, it's passing the buck to the private individual, saying rehabilitate vacant houses. But okay, what if the vacant houses are owned by the bank? Okay, or they're caught up in some sort of ridiculous bureaucracy. So you know, like a lot of these places which were half built, because a promoter's mortgage comes in 3 stages. So you sort of have the stage 1, let's build this and we're going to sell it, and then stage 2 is when they sell it to the client, and stage 3 is when the client takes over the mortgage and it gets completed. A lot of it just crashed at stage 2, and the problem is, what do you do with all these things which aren't owned by any private individual? And I think he, you know, with the rehabilitation program needs to maybe sort that out, because, you know, that's where there's a huge problem at the moment, as Robert said, with the empty and places and the shells of places which are just left there.
There was the empty property opposite us. It's not just one property; it's a whole load of apartments, 2 and 3 bed apartments. That when we arrived 4 years ago, we were told that it's so enmeshed in some planning regulations that it's been left empty for 20 years, and it's only in the last year or two when some building companies managed to get through that and they started work on it again. So there's been all kinds of noise from it, and now it's ready. But it seems that people have bought some of the flats, but nobody's living there at the moment. So it strikes me that it's big property developers who are buying. It's the landlords with lots of money are buying a few, and they're going to be rented out to holiday makers. So It's the same problem all over again. And there's people must be people in Computer, young people, who want to live in their own houses, and they're not going to be able to afford them because they're, 200,000 and upwards.
Yeah.
And there you go. Right, let's move on to the next one. We will get to the 100% one in a minute. It was quite far down the list when he was talking about it. It's obviously not quite as important as the newspapers are making out. Industrialised housing construction. What's that all about?
What's that? The industrial. I didn't read that one before I said it.
Yeah, strategic projects for economic recovery and transformation.
Project will be launched with European funds to support the industrialised housing concept. The goal is to reduce construction time, modernise the sector, promote sustainability. This project will be based in Valencia. Oh, so this is the Valencian-based Storm Dana relief, which has got this kind of huge kickback really from that, because at the moment apparently they've only released like 6% of the money, haven't they, to people? After they did that crazy, you don't have to pay any social security and your second part, your tax return, if you're self-employed or a private individual. For the second half of the year, they get rid of that release, and then they just charged everybody at the beginning of the year. So I'm not too sure how that really helped. As I said, I'm not a big fan of that. And this is about really the Valencian area and how they're going to project the recovery of the area, really.
And it looks like they're talking about building houses in this industrialised way, so houses that are quicker to build and construct, so to reduce time and costs and modernise the sector, promote sustainability. So I don't know how they're going to be doing that. It's European funds, it says. It's going to be launched with that. So it'll be interesting to see how that one works. But of course, it's rebuilding areas as quickly as possible that were affected by the storm. So yeah, that's only in that one area. Well, I suppose it's quite a large area, the whole of Valencia. Yeah, I mean, and again, it's let's see it being put into action. I mean, hopefully, it's about putting the money into the regional governments and the local governments and the town halls so they can do the work. Really, you know, it's like here in Alarin de la Torre, they've cleared the places. There's a couple of places that flooded, and they've been working on that. But our mayor's been quite open in saying that you never got any money for it. You're paying for it, you know. So. You know, but then it was recognised. It was recognised as a flood area because of the in the borough when they had certain reliefs for tax, etc., which they've now charged us again. But then they wouldn't give us any money to solve the problem in the first place. So, you know, that's all happening. But yeah. There we go. Let's just have a quick look at the live chat. Mike Ripper says one of the problems with the 2000s property boom was that loads of property was built when no one wanted to live, and probably still don't. There you go. And Shirley Rose says we're looking for a home visiting at the end of February. This channel is fantastic. Thank you, Skatz and Chris. Learned so much already following you both. That's lovely. And thank you, Liz Coleman, for your donation. And for your laughing icon. I said, don't worry about the icons. It just says, it's not even an icon here. It just says fan character laughing out loud with tears in their eyes, which is lovely. And she says, thanks for all the information. There you go. So, and good morning from Mad David, who's a tad late to the party. Well, you've arrived. You've arrived at just the right time, because now it's time for increased taxes for non-EU foreign buyers, the one that all the newspapers have been talking about. So tell us about that.
So yeah, basically increased taxes for foreign buyers. Shall I read out? Do you want to read it out, or shall I read out exactly what was said?
Oh, I'll read it out, and then you can comment.
You're better than me.
Yes, I'm a good reader. There will be a significant tax increase for non-resident buyers from outside the European Union. That's important. Non-resident buyers, potentially up to 100% of the property value. So that potentially and up to are very important words in there. So that's what it says.
Yeah, he's so I think when he announced this, I mean, obviously everybody focused on 100%, you know, straight away. So that means the initial thing was, that's it now. A property that's worth 200,000 euros will now be worth 400,000. You'll have to pay 400,000 euros for. I personally very much doubt it will get to that point where that's going to happen. No doubt something will happen. But I mean, the first thing that he did say, he opened up the sentence by saying, in areas declared as high demand. the high demand zones. So the first thing that I suppose would have to be put into place would be a real decreto to explain what actually is a high demand. How do you explain what is an area of high demand? Is it by people, by price? Is it by unemployment? How are they going to, first of all, explain what is the area of high demand to be able to apply that tax?
Yeah, absolutely. Some definitions. I mean, certainly on the islands where most of the protests have been, in the Canaries and on Mallorca. We were talking about that before the show, weren't we?
Yeah.
So, what does everybody have to say about that? I mean, you've seen what's been in the newspapers.
I mean, so areas of high demand, but then if there is areas of high demand, like the coasts, for example, here, the Costa del Sol, where, as what we were talking about before the show, they are constructing and being allowed to construct apartment blocks and stuff, which are just not aimed at first-time Spanish buyers. You know, it is aimed at the foreign market. It really is. You know, they have luxury apartments and golf resorts and stuff like that. But if that's a high demand area, it's a high demand focused at a target audience, not at first time buyers from Spain, you know, or should we say resident buyers, not just Spanish, it's resident buyers as well. So yeah, it's how do they determine that, especially if, you know, some of the building is focused on a different market.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it needs to be focused on the young people who can't afford first-time buyers and people on low incomes, because those are the ones who can't find housing. So I suppose those are if you need to find out where those areas are, where those people are, and there's going to be in the big cities, certainly. Yeah,
and then you need to focus on things like let's take Malaga Airport, for example. Malaga Airport is a hive activity. It's the fourth biggest airport in Spain, and it's going to be quite possibly soon the third, competition with Mallorca there, Palma. And it employs an awful lot of people. You know, it's 24/7 now, a lot of people, but everybody's on a minimum wage and they've all got to live somewhere. They've all got to go somewhere to live. And a lot of them have families and stuff like that. So and we know how much the price of properties are here around Malaga Centre. So, I mean, that's the kind of solution I think that they're sort of focusing on there. But whether putting 100% tax on non-EU foreign buyers is actually going to affect that, I don't think so.
Matt David says 200,000 on a 200,000 property. That's a lot of rent money. It is indeed. Yes, it's a lot of tax for the government, and it's. Somebody was asking me, is it just like how they're going to implement it? Is it like it's when you purchase, that's the tax you pay? Is it like you'd normally pay 7, 8, 9, 10%, whatever it is, in different regions, putting it up to anything up to 100%. Yeah, it is going to double the property, the amount that you're spending on it, but it's not going to double the property value. You know, the property's still going to be valued at
100% increase in the tax. So if you're paying, for example, could we interpret it as, I brought this up earlier on, actually, the highest tax rate is in the Balearic Islands, which can be between 8 and 13%. Here in Andalusia, we're okay, actually, at 7%. La Rioja, 7%. But would and you pay that 7% on the price of the property that you purchase, the price at notary. So is it 100% increase on that tax? That it could be interpreted like that, which would put then Andalusia at 14% for non-resident, non-EU, non-resident buyers, which I think a lot of people would suck up, to be honest with you.
I think they're talking about 100% of the property value, which is doubling it. Which Sanchez was also saying something which we were talking about beforehand. He's trying to do the same system as they're doing in Denmark and Canada. But actually, they've not done this. All Denmark and Canada done is they've put restrictions on foreign property ownership, which is basically what Sanchez is suggesting. But he's doing it as a financial disincentive so that people can't afford to do it. Whereas Denmark and Canada just said, you can't buy, if you're a foreign national, you can't buy residential properties. They prohibited it, basically.
But the way he worded it the way it was worded was this, like the 100% tax increase was already working in these countries, and it's not. It doesn't exist in these countries.
Yeah. So that's we did some fact checking. You did some fact checking.
Yeah,
chat GPT, didn't you?
Couldn't find any. I did my own fact checking on Google. Then I phoned somebody up who was Danish. Didn't contact anybody who was Canadian. Maybe I should have done. Then we went through other various AI tools through different websites and everything to say, can you find anything which relates to these countries charging non-resident buyers 100%? And it just kept coming back, no. There are restrictions on non-resident buyers at times, and a higher tax in places like Denmark do have a higher tax rate, but not. There was no way they're charging 100% on the price of property.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason says, I read that there are plans to revoke up to 10,000 tourist licenses in Madrid and Barcelona and not issue new ones. Your thoughts, please. Actually, I know exactly what's happening there. It was in Barcelona and it's 10,101 properties. I was talking about it in my video on Wednesday. So, yes, it is.
I've got my bouncy castle guy. 1 second. Sorry about
that. No problems. So, yeah. I'll just mute Chris's microphone while he's talking there. So, wait a second. There we go. That's better. Now we can hear what we're talking about. Yes, Barcelona have said that by November 2028, they will revoke all 10,101 tourist apartment licenses in Barcelona, and they won't be reissuing new ones. I've got your microphone muted there, Chris. Let's just unmute it. There we go. So yes, this is happening in Barcelona. That's all right. There you go. And Mad David says, how much tax do you pay on a commercial property?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got the private properties up here.
No, I presume there's some kind of incentive for businesses on commercial properties, but that's a whole different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, soon find out.
Yeah. Nelly says, hi all. Hi, Nelly. Is that a picture of a chimpanzee? That's great. Lovely. I like chimpanzees. And anyone else got any more comments about the 100% potential property value tax? Let me just do a quick plug while you're looking that one up. I keep talking about currency exchange rates, and there was a big drop from it had been at 1.2 or around there for quite a while, and it dropped to like 1.18, which is quite a drop, a 2-point drop. And so if you're planning to move or you're buying property in Spain in the near future, make sure you don't wait for the pound to drop further, which it might well do. Nobody knows what's going to happen with it. But you can fix yourself a forward rate by going through a currency exchange company. And you can also set your regular pension payments to be exchanged at a fixed rate for a year or two. And I recommend Smart Currency Exchange for a few very good reasons. And also there's a link in the video description below to get your free account and free advice and a personal broker. And you'll be helping YouTooSpain as well at no extra cost to you. As we always say, it's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. There we go. That's my plug for the day. And Jason says, I've seen some commercial property converted into residential for sale. I'd avoid it as maybe issues registering it. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I've seen it the other way around as well, where a lot of private. So according to this, the commercial rates are just slightly different, but the ITP rate, which is your property tax, in Andalusia is the same commercially. But evidently, when a property is new, there is VAT due on it, and if you're a company buyer, that is obviously write-offable. It won't be if you're a private buyer. But yeah, the taxes seem to be around the same for commercial. But we get an awful lot of, and this is Jose, our technician, Ingeniero Técnico, who does the car documents, believe it or not, also does what they call aperturas, which is the opening licenses for commercial properties. And he does a lot of, you seen where you've got like the houses and the garages below, which then turn into like businesses.
Oh, yeah.
And he does that. And I've actually been through the process a couple of times with him, like on the sidelines for clients of ours, because we don't do it, but they've asked in the past. And it heavily depends when you're turning. Now, I don't know about commercial into private, but I know from private into commercial, like a garage or something, it heavily depends on the town hall how long it takes really to get it done. So places like Marbella take forever, but they actually gave people permission to continue before they got their permission. So as long as you have your license in, you're waiting for your license to operate. You could operate until your license was approved, if that makes any sense. So yeah, but that's it is possible to convert private to a commercial use, as long as you've got things like the ramps. That's what he does. He does the design for the ramps and everything as well. You need a ramp here. Oh, there's a step there. Cut that bush down. That kind of thing.
Yeah. John Carrington is trying to ask a question, and it's not coming out as a full one. I've only just come in. Ray the 100% tax. As you often say, nobody knows yet. Well, yes, absolutely. Yes, we don't know. Like we said at the start of the show, we have no idea when or if these policies, they're not even as far as what they officially call proposals yet. They do proposals later on. This is just an announcement, really. And then there's the proposal, and then it goes for debate in Congress, and then they actually come up with the plan. And then if it passes, then they publish it in the bulletin, and then it doesn't take effect until 3 months after that. So it could be years down the line before this gets anywhere near to being law.
Yeah, it has to go to what they call the Consejo de Ministros, which is the ministers, and then it goes to the Consejo de Gobierno, which is who checks it for legal text to make sure that the government aren't opening themselves up to anything illegal. And I watched a lot of podcasts on this with lawyers, both in Spanish and in English, over this week. I had one in the background in the office, and everybody seems to be they all seem to be focusing on that it is against either EU. There's one that was heavily said it's against the Constitution. You just can't do it. There's one that said it was against EU law. You just can't do it. There's one that says against Spanish tax law. So you'd actually have to change the organic law to be able to do that. So, I'm sure that a lot of people have studied a lot of legal text, and there's a lot of different angles from a lot of different podcasts in both languages as to how this wouldn't actually be possible at all. Yeah. It's against the law or constitutional right or the EU one way or another.
Yeah, people were saying that as well about now that you have to give loads and loads of details when you come over on holiday. If you're staying in a hotel, you've got to give loads of details, including your bank details. Somebody else was saying that's against EU law, against one of the important EU laws, so they can't do that. And yet they do.
Bank details as well. I stayed somewhere in December and I didn't have to do that. Was that?
No, I mean, and you give your card details anyway. You do that wherever. I mean, I'm buying stuff from places like Temu, which is a Chinese company, giving my bank details all the time. So, and a lot of the people that are saying these comments, it's against the law, which you're taking all of our information, are the same sort of people who are buying stuff online and giving their bank details out and just assuming it's safe in the first place. So. Yeah, there we go. Nelly asks, what will happen to the owners of properties who rent out the properties that don't have a license to do so? Will they clamp down on those? Yes, they're certainly doing that in Barcelona as part of those licenses, but those kind of, they call them illegal properties that don't have the licenses, they're going to clamp down completely on those.
And they've just passed that legislation now, haven't they, with tourists, where to get a tourist license, you actually need you need to get the permission of the community as well. So so that's coming as well. That you will have to get the permission of the community. And I heard yesterday, I was with who you had on the program, Charisse, the lawyer, yesterday. Talking to her, and she was trying to sort out tourist license in Alicante, and it turns out that they haven't issued any in 2 years. Apparently there's a block on them at the moment as well. So I think there's various ways that these things are being blocked.
Robbo asking the important question, Why doesn't the government do what they do in the UK when building new urbanisations, make the developer build a percentage of properties for social housing when they do it? And actually, that's one of the points that Sanchez made, which we'll come to in a minute, I think. Yeah. Let's get on to the next one. Changes to the SOCIMI regime. What's that?
So SOCIMI is, and I had to look this up, Sociedades Anónimas Cotizadas de Inversión Inmobiliarias. So they're basically son sociedades anónimas cotizadas cuya actividad principal es la adquisición de promoción. It's basically anonymous societies, so people with cash who are set up to the promotion and purchase of properties. And I think what he said here, I'd never heard of these before, to be honest with you, but then I wouldn't have any reason to. Was to give basically real estate investors more tax advantages to build more properties. So it's basically trying to get properties built on the private sector, but tax breaks.
And what they're trying to do here is to change the tax advantages to only people promoting affordable rental housing. So
yeah, so instead of it would basically be the exact opposite to what they're doing in Costa del Sol, which is luxury golf flats with plunge pools on the balcony. You're going to try and encourage people to build affordable housing for people to move into, which I think is a good idea, you know. But it's through tax breaks rather than investment from the government.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is this one about what Robbo was talking about. Transfer of public housing and land. The government will transfer more than 3,300 properties and 2 million square metres, that's quite a lot, of residential land to the new public housing company, which will come from Sareb. That's the company created to manage assets from the financial crisis. An additional 30,000 Sareb homes will be added to the public housing company during the first half of 2025, of which 13,000 are already used for social rental housing.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I think it needs to move more in that direction. And just, as I said, I think regulate, as I said earlier on in the program, just regulate the access to the houses which are mixed up in this whole bad bank scenario. Sareb being managing it, you know, the bank's own estate agents, but they're not actually own estate agents. Their own web pages are just shockingly managed badly. There also is a strong belief that, unfortunately, a lot of people who work in banks and see these properties have friends who are investors, so they get the first dibs at it. So nothing's changed, has it? You know, I myself, a couple of years ago, tried to buy some parking spaces in Alarin de la Torre because they were ridiculously cheap. And we know that Alarin de la Torre is a really good place to invest. And I just got fobbed off to the point where even when I went down to the office to speak to the person they told me to speak to, he went, "Oh, well, they're all gone now anyway," type thing. Just go away. That was it.
There you go. Jason says, I'm not visiting Spain in my usual May this year due to ETIAS and EES possible queues and confusion at airports. First of all, ETIAS is not going to be operational by May. EES might be, but there's still been no announcement on a start date for that. And there's still confusion as far as I can tell with Germany, France and Holland, I think, are the three who can't get their systems to marry up with EES. But I don't think there's going to be much increase in queues. There may be some confusion. Maybe the system will go down at times, but there's going to be a 6-month period where they're testing it all out anyway. And I don't think they're going to insist that everybody goes through EES if it doesn't seem to be working at any particular time. So don't cancel your trips. Come over to Spain and see us. John Carrington says,
quickly buy a house. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. John says, Ray, the bank account information, maybe previously the hotel didn't pass on the info, Ray, your credit card. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know whether you can't pass on people's bank credit card numbers onto the government. Surely they can't collect those because that's only used for payment. That doesn't sound like something that only, the hotels don't even hold on to it themselves for very long. They're not allowed to anyway.
It's like registered payment methods, isn't it? So you can no longer pay cash, basically, is to control because a lot of people, if you go on holiday in summer in August as a family of 4 for all inclusive down to Cadiz, it can cost you 6 or 7 grand. So I'd imagine there's a few people in the black economy might have been shoving the old hundreds on the desk, and you definitely can't do that now. So it may be, we're worried about like maybe a €50 a night. I think it might be more focused on A, making sure that people are registered who stay in properties, and B, making sure their payment is registered and going through the books.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on quickly. We've only got 10 minutes left, haven't we? So Jason says, La Mata area was selling properties that included a tourist license. No need to apply for one after purchase. I dare say that's not going to happen forever. And Jason says, woohoo, see you in May. There we go. I've persuaded him to come anyway. So there's 2 more measures that we need to go through. Taxation of tourist apartments. A tax reform will be introduced to tax tourist apartment as economic activities. There you go. This is one that's going to hit landlords hard, I think, including applying VAT in areas with housing shortages or tourist saturation. Again, they're only doing it in these areas which they need to define. The government will also strengthen regulations against fraud in seasonal rentals and create funds for regional and municipal governments to increase the number of inspections of illegal tourist apartments. And that's what Nelly was talking about. Yes. So they're clamping down on illegal tourist apartments. And
I hope that this brings in the regulation to people who like rent during the summer, hire, then kick people out, and then have a dodgy contract for the whole of winter. So it's it's really, you've got to commit. So if you're going to do long-term rental, this affects a lot of our clients. Where I have clients saying to me, right, okay, they're moving over in the winter. Right, we found somewhere till May, and I'm going, you don't want to be on the street in May. You don't want to be looking for somewhere to buy now. And then also sometimes when you're in that, this might affect the timeline for people coming, for example, on an NLV where, they're like, we're going to do a 6-month rental while we're buying somewhere. We can then get the NLV in place of residency to avoid the 100% tax. It's not going to happen, but let's say it did. But then you're under this pressure in May to buy, aren't you? So maybe that will regulate a little bit this grey area where people have short term and then slightly longer term and give them NAF sort of tourist contracts, but they're actually living there full time.
Indeed. Let's move on to the next one then. Increased housing aid. The measures will be included in the National Housing Plan 2026 to 2030. There you go. There's a bit of a timescale. Increasing existing aid programs, particularly for young people, the elderly, people with disabilities, and residents of degraded areas. There we go. Extra aid. Does that mean cash in hand, or does that mean tax breaks?
Probably this. It implies cash in hand, really, but see, he's talking about 2026 to 2030. I mean, who knows who's going to be in power then? So let's see. Unless it's passed through Parliament, the aid is passed through before, and we have any sort of change in government, then it could be implemented, I suppose. But yeah, let's see. That's a long way off, and it's also it would help. More aid. It's a very flimsy comment, but more aid would help for younger people and older people.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at a little bit of political context that we've got here. The notes that I've got. So these measures came after the opposition leader, whose name I can never pronounce, Alberto Núñez Feijóo, met with regional leaders to discuss their housing proposals. The PP, People's Party, sort of more on the right-wing side, are advocating for reduced taxes and lower construction costs to increase the supply of land. So, similar things. Some political parties and experts have criticised Sanchez's measures as being interventionist. Well, you've got to do something, haven't you? You can't rely on the market to balance everything up, and the market is always favourable to the rich. Let's face it. It's always favourable to the landlords rather than the tenants. Sumar, a coalition party of the ruling party, have asked for measures to sanction landlords who do not apply affordable prices and for speculative home buying to be sanctioned. Sumar are a little bit more, they're more left-wing, aren't they, than the government. So it's interesting, yes, that the people to the very left, there's another party as well, whose name I forget.
Podemos.
Podemos, yeah, they're even more left-wing. I think they're the most socialist of the lot. Yeah. And they've got their own. They say these measures don't go far enough. So
Yeah. I mean, it's as you say, he's got to do something. He's in a minority government, so he's obviously throwing out stuff which is quite shocking and is trying to hopefully people can hang on to, like national housing plan, to say, well, if we stay with Sanchez and vote for him, then we'll get a national housing plan. Hopefully that will help. So that's the rates. But you are right, something does have to happen, and certainly the regularization of the rental market. I mean, that needs to happen, because we've seen it where because people are willing, have to pay what people are asking because of the lack of rentals, then it pushes the price up. And I think there does need to be a cap on how much you can actually charge someone, and the qualification criteria to get into a rental, for example, because whether you like it or not, even like in this town, in Alarin de la Torre, if you want a semi-detached 3-bedroom townhouse in the middle of town, you're talking nearly €2,000 a month, right? And it's and the thing is, because Malaga is expanding, people who come with maybe income from foreign sources are willing to pay that, and locals now can't pay it. So something has to happen, to help people who are working in the local economy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Roger Beck says, another great informative show. Looking forward to chatting with Chris on Wednesday. An exciting 2025. Lovely. And Jed says, morning everyone. I spent New Year in hospital. That's a shame. I hope you're feeling better now. And managed to get out to Nerja for a week to recuperate in the sun. It's lovely down in Nerja. I'm going there tonight, actually. There's my musical friend Mitch invited me to a Cuban jazz night at the jazz club down in Nerja, and that's rather nice. And we're going for an Indian beforehand. So
nice.
That's absolutely at my favourite Indian restaurant. So lovely, like Nerja. Mad David says, is it possible to live in my mate's house and register for the NLV while he's on holiday for 2 years?
Hey, they don't kick squatters out here, so it's not. Yes, you can. Look, that's not a problem at all. Now, this goes back to that question with the padron, and also a question of whether you're going to be renting off your mate or whatever. And if you're not renting, or he's just going to lend you the house, there is a contract called a contrato precario, which you can put in place, which proves that you're living there free, and you should be able to use that at the town hall. I say should because sometimes we get a little bit of earache from town halls with these contracts. But yeah, that's not a problem. Leave it at your friend's house. As long as it's done legally, we'd always advise that you've got a contract in place, even if you're not paying, that just states that you're going to cover the water and electric, I'd imagine, and he's lending you the property. But yeah, you can certainly stay at a mate's house as long as the paperwork's correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And all you need really is your mate's official permission to get on the padron. Yeah,
and you might find, so we had one not so long ago where there was a standard contract created by his friend, well, let's say the owner's lawyer, just to say this person's going to be living in the house, and etc. They're in charge of paying the bills. They put the bills in their name, believe it or not. And they went to the town hall. The town hall went, oh no, we need this permission slip signing as well. It was the most ridiculous bit of paper. They just said, I give permission. So all this beautiful contract, all the details signed, and they went, we need this permission slip. So they went off, got it signed, turned up, and it was fine. So yeah, it was all good.
There you go. Oh, Barry from Unitech just joined us. Happy New Year. Sorry, I had a lie in. There we go. You'll have to rewind, Barry, and find out what we've been talking about. We've reached the end of the housing plan, and got a little paragraph entitled, What's Next? The Minister of Housing and Urban Agenda, Isabel Rodriguez, has stated that a new public housing company is being created to ensure a permanent public housing offering at affordable prices. Sounds like a good idea. Whether it's administered successfully, we will have to wait and see. The Autonomous Community of Catalonia will allocate €600 million to promote the construction and rehabilitation of social housing in 2025. And this new package of measures is intended to address Spain's housing crisis by increasing the availability of affordable rental properties and helping more people gain access to housing. The Congress of Deputies must pass several of these measures before they can be implemented, as we've said right the way through the show. There we go.
Yeah, it's I think that, I mean, with this, the other thing is obviously there is a problem with people, the qualification criteria. Again, I was talking to a friend of ours about this. this week for when I knew I was going to be doing this show. And the qualification criteria, if you're working on a minimum wage as a resident or a Spaniard, if you're not taking any sort of benefits, is that you wouldn't qualify for a lot of this, where a lot of people do. And there's a lot of people who are just on minimum wage, not taking any benefits, who can't qualify for any of the social housing, and are really stuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is probably something that they need to look at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Mad David says the house is completely off-grid, no water, no electric. All right. No bills to pay, that's wonderful. Just make sure it's properly registered, otherwise you won't get on the padron.
Yeah, I'll show you how to do that. I've been just recently doing my vegetable garden again, so I can give you a few tips on the vegetables you need during the season. So we're all right with that.
Brilliant.
Maybe we'll do a show on it.
Yeah, the vegetable show. Brilliant. And we've reached 11 o'clock. I was going to ask the big question: is this just political posturing, or the sort of radical ideas that are needed? There we go. That's the final thing. We'll finish with that question.
Oh, are we going to answer it? And I think it's 50-50. I think it is needed, but I do think that Sanchez is grasping slightly at political straws at the moment. You know, albeit, look, I'm stay apolitical and everything, and he did a lot of good stuff in lockdown and a lot of stuff which wasn't too good. But at the moment, I think there's a lot of headlining here and trying to grasp votes as well. The way things are positioned, it could have been positioned a lot better.
Yes, indeed. So we need to give out a prize.
Oh yeah, I tell you, I just talking about the comments there. I was coming through because I had loads of comments. I saw Mike Fisk on there commented. Mike, I will be catching up with you, but completely going off topic. But it is on topic to your situation there, Skatz, and stay alive. In fact, I'll put it on the group. Mike sent me an email. Mike's a cancer survivor, and he sent me an email regarding his journey and getting registered here in Spain. Mm-hmm. And it was just a fantastic story. And literally, we've just put it. I asked it with his permission. I've published it on our website as an article, untouched, in Mike's words of coming over to Spain as a cancer survivor, needing to have medicine, what journey he's been on to get that in place here. And I felt it was quite an important thing to have out there at a website. So I forgot to tell you, Skatz, about that actually, because I thought you might be able to stick it on Still Alive for me. But yeah, thanks for that, Mike. And anybody out there who's interested, take a look.
Absolutely, yes. Does he deserve a prize, or have we already given one?
Mike's going to get a prize anyway when I see him. Don't worry about Mike's prize. We're doing his renewal now, so he'll get sorted out. We're not giving him the prize because he's going to get looked after anyway, so don't worry about that.
Excellent. So let's pick somebody from the live chat. I like the name Cubbly Adventures, and he's just said, thanks, guys. Hopefully see you in Computer for a beer, Skatz. Now, that sounds like my favourite comment.
There you go. You can have a prize then.
There you go. Send us, send to Chris. What email address do you want him to send?
Chris at upsticks.es. That'd be good.
There we go. Yeah, send Chris a message. And
choose two. I don't care. Choose two prizes. Let's have two. It's Saturday. It's my son's birthday. We're feeling generous. Let's have two.
Two. All right. Tell you what. You pick somebody out of the side. Can you scroll through there?
So have you chosen one?
Yeah. So.
What else have we got here? Let me scroll down.
You've got there's Nelly. There's John Carrington. There's Mad David. Shirley Rose. I suppose it's got to be somebody who's still watching. Yeah. Give us a wave if you're still watching, everyone.
Yeah, everybody wave. I'll tell you what, the first person to wave. There you go.
Barry from Unitech says, I've read about this, but it'll never happen. There we go. There's a certainty from Barry. If Barry says it won't happen, it won't happen. No one will ever in their right mind pay 100% tax for a house. He'll be discouraging people who do have money to move to Spain. Well, actually, once you've moved to Spain, you can buy a house because it's not aimed at those people. It's only aimed at non-residents. So, yeah, but the whole idea is it is a disincentive. It is to discourage people. So, yeah.
Ooh, who waved first?
Well, Cubbly, we've already said. There's no messages come through there. But, Liz Coleman?
Liz, there you go.
Liz, yes. So, yeah, she's the first one to actually put the wave sign there. So, go for it.
Yes, send us your
postal address.
So your postal address to Chris at upsticks.es.
There we go then. Brilliant. So it's time to wrap up the show. I will be telling you in a moment who's joining us next week. But for now, let's let Chris get off to Raoul's birthday party and start blowing up the bounty castle. Do you have to do it with your own two lips?
No, they come and set. It's very good. They come and set it all up for you, and then they come and take it down, and so it's all set up. That was the guy there just saying, thanks. We'll come and get it tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and if you could just clear all the sleeping kids off of it tomorrow, that'd be great.
Yes. Just bounce them off.
just bounce them off. I won't be going on it, unfortunately, this time. I did have a bit of an adventure last time on it, but with the arm, I'm not allowed.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, then. So I'll see you in 2 weeks for more expert advice about the new residency rules. We'll do that. There's Raoul.
He's good. It's like he had washed his hair. It must be your birthday. I'll see you next week, Skatz, for live.
Yeah, of course. Monday.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Monday as well. Yeah. See you on Monday. We're off to do the next the appointment with the surgeon to find out whether I've got any cancer cells in my body, and hopefully get the all clear. That would be lovely.
We might do it. We might do a little video there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be a really good thing to do. We'll do a live video, so I can just put that one out on Friday and save me having to sit in my studio all the time and write a long script.
I'll bring all the stuff. I'm going to bring the 360 camera as well, so we can do a funny video of us walking around. You can use as B-roll.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll bring my phone and gimbble as well. There, we can have like 3 different angles on everything.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Thank
all
you,
right.
Paul Cook. Saying happy birthday.
There we go. That's lovely. Feliz cumpleaños. Ños.
It doesn't really stop right.
Yeah, you need to put the squiggle over the end as well. There we go. Cumpleaños. Yeah, there's a few things missing there. Never mind. We shan't criticise people's spelling and grammar.
No. The Spanish lessons with Raoul next year. That's what I've already got that written down. He's going to do his own course.
Brilliant. Okay, then. We'll say goodbye for now. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye. Okay, then. So who do we have on the show next week? Did I mention it earlier? No, I think I mentioned it when I was talking to Chris before the show. I'm happy to announce that Andrew, and let's get his surname right. Is it Haselden or Haselden? They both sound similar anyway. From the 180 Days in Spain campaign, he'll be back with us. And we'll be seeing how the campaign is going, what difference the new UK government has made, if any. And we'll be getting his response to what we've been talking about on today's show and finding out what his fellow campaigners are saying. Join our Facebook group if you haven't already. That's YouTooSpain Facebook community. I think there's a link to it down in the video description. You can ask questions in advance on there and be a part of the community and a part of the show, whether you're watching live or not. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us and leaving comments and hitting that like button and supporting us with donations and memberships. There's still a little bit of time to hover over that QR code and give a donation. It's all very much appreciated. I'll see you either on the midweek video, which comes out on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock, or live on Saturday mornings at a regular time of 9 o'clock in the morning if you're in the UK or Ireland or Portugal, or 10 o'clock if you're in Spain or Central Europe, or watch Still Alive. If you haven't subscribed to the Still Alive channel, then do that as well. I'm trying to build up subscribers, so that puts it up in the listing and get more people watching. That's not just going to be about me having cancer and surviving. It's all about enjoying your life and not giving up. Don't die before you die. So that's all for this week. Somebody pass around the 100% cookies. Peace and love to all of you. Peas and fluff. And here's one final message from all of the voices in my head here at YouTooSpain. See you
Wave
soon.
goodbye, lads. Bye. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Peace and love. Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. One more cosmic dance? All right, then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver. Let's dance.